14 Sierra Whiskey 007 calling CQDX.
Bonjour, hello, welcome to Max Mountain World. I've had a lot of questions, a few questions, people saying to me, how do I get this up so quickly? Well, that wasn't the best demonstration, kind of a few things in the garage, whatever. I'm finding that these poles aren't quite as grippy as they should be with all the dust that's about and stuff. It's a minor irritation. But I was just down the garage here, just checking up on one of the connections there, which has been not too great of late. So I've redone that, and at the same time thought I'd set it up and go through a demonstration. How do I get this right every time? Here's all the top tips. Just as usual, the first thing I do is I construct the antenna, as you've just seen, and out in the field it sits like this. Now the top section here, from the resistance there to the resistance there, all over here, it's basically a quarter wave dipole. And the connection here is the thing I've been having a little bit of difficulty with. Homemade, yeah, and it gets turned, twisted and stuff. But I've got it sorted, and the antenna's ready to go. Each time I do it, I construct this, connect the coax, and give it an SWR test. And it's never right here, but it doesn't go off scale, so I know it's right when it's up. So after that, the main part that takes the longest is setting up the actual support poles for it. Now, I'll go through that. That's the clever bit. I'll explain this first, and then we'll go through the poles, and then I'll show you exactly what the finished product is before the thing goes up. Obviously it's not going up in here. So this is the connection. I've sorted it out. It's taped up just to keep it all in place and keep it weatherproofed if it rains when I'm out with it, whatever. But what it is basically is a short piece of coax on this PL plug, and then it's soldered onto the wire either side. Now, constructing the antenna, a few of you have noticed that everything's coded. So the main cross beam, which is set fixed 40 degrees, 140 degrees, and I have 2, 3, 1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So everything goes the same way. So number 1 here, follow it right up. The end is on number 1, and that is number 1 and 1. Now over here, the other side, that one, the back end of the antenna is set up 2, 2 and 2. So every time, using these mini carabiners and a few other loops just to keep it free of anything, it's fine. I've got it all set up and adjusted. Everything's adjusted, clamped up, taped up, in position, so that the thing actually has a 5-degree upward pointing when it's set up. You probably noticed that in a couple of the pictures, although these aren't photo friendly, these antennas. Anyway, just looking to here, what I'll do is in reverse order to the construction. Basically that's the bottom of the cross beam, the support pole. I have the next one, which is titanium. Now these holes coordinate, but they only go one way. You can't put it 180 degrees round, because when I drilled it at a slight angle to make sure that would be the case. And this is just a hand tight bolt that holds it in place. I'll come back to that. Down here, once that's in place, bear in mind at the moment the antenna is pointing up the way. So I've got this clamp on here that has 2 uses. One, that is the direction of the antenna, so that the holes will line up and that's set up. So when I put the next pole in, the next pole using 2 clamps, and what I do is the clamps, these always go on that pole that way. When they're pointing up the way, they're coordinated with that and with the antenna. And I do the same at the bottom here. A friend of mine on the air and online, Jason, informed me that this is called a Shelley bracket. Basically you can connect both ways, and the reason I bought that was at some point in the future I'm going to experiment with vertical polarization of the antenna. But what happens here is another clamp. This one's marked up as the clamp that goes here, because the bottom pole is very slightly smaller in diameter. It slots in through here, clamps onto that, and that's it. There's one more pole here, and what I do is that's the pole that I fix to whatever I'm fixing up with, and then the whole lot of this lot just basically drops inside it and it can turn and swivel freely. So first things first, one that's marked, smaller diameter pole goes there, the other two, let's see, they all hang on the actual U-bend here. I'm not very quick with this because last time out, like every time out, when I was finished, basically I just flung it in the boot. You don't take time when it's 3 degrees outside and you're handling metal. You soon get numb fingers and cuts and things. So it wasn't put together right, it wasn't put away right, but normally what I'll do is I'll set up everything properly in the garage once I get back normally, but I just didn't do it last time. Now, this bottom one, quite easy. Again, the loop round the actual, that pole. And then it's just a case of cranking everything up, but there's a specific way that I do that. So this is what we've got. All the branches marked up, as I say. This is the reflector wire, and the top section here, that's the transmitter, the front end of it basically. So as I say, at the moment it's pointing up the way. Now this bolt, the final bolt, that only needs to, the pole is actually sitting inside loose, it's fine. And that, you can see the angle that I've made on it, so it only goes one way. 180 degree turn, the bolt won't go through. And what we've got as well is coming back, this is permanently fixed onto that pole, so that this is actually pointing the same way. Then when I tighten up the U-bolts, the U-clamps, those point the same way. And the second set with the Shelley bracket, those point in the same way. And then at the very bottom of this, I have the stub pole. That this is the thing that I fix to whatever I'm going to fix to. Blocks of concrete, wood piles, park benches, you name it, I find stuff. And then when it's done, when that's actually fixed in and vertical, this whole lot just drops into the top and turns as it needs to. As usual, great fun with lighting problems in the garage, and no doubt probably some sound problems too. A couple of points I'm going to make. I've set up the coax here as well, and I've got the coax on one of these mini carabiners as well, so that when the coax is going down, it's not actually pulling or tugging on this. This only has the weight of that part of the coax. The coax comes down, and I feed it inside this pole. It comes out the bottom there, and that way it's not flapping around, it's controlled, it's next to the support. As you can see probably if you zoom in or you're on a big screen or whatever, everything pointing up the way. Now, a couple of points. People before, that I've done a video before on this, I'll put it up on top right of the screen now, where I did actually construct it. And I was asked a couple of questions a couple of times, you know, why don't you buy one of these kind of roll-on things that you can just drive your car wheel onto it and the mast there, you set it all up. One, I've reached my budget for my radio stuff. I don't want to buy any more. And the other thing as well is that the kit in the car comes out in seconds and minutes, and I can put it on a picnic table. I don't need to be parked next to it. So there's more than just driving the car onto something. This is adaptable for any situation. The other thing as well is that I'm also asked, why don't you make it higher? I'm limited as to how many poles I can use, how many brackets I can use, and what space I have in the car. It's one reason I have the estate car. I've got the room to store it. It's a bit better than the Saxo, where the Saxo, it was running through the seats and everything. So this is it. Again, just set up exactly as I've done it there. Now what I'll do in the rollout is I'll do a sped up version of putting it away, which is just as rapid. The second point I want to make about the whole thing here is 2 spanners required only, a 17 and a 13mm spanner. Now people say to me, oh, why don't you get a ratchet spanner? Yes, I will, but again, there's the budget thing. Same thing with the poles, a budget thing. The top pole there and the bottom one here that's got a little bit of a taper on it, they're both titanium poles. The centre one is your usual standard alloy, whatever it's made of, I don't know. But I don't want any more of a budget. I've reached my budget, that's it. So, anyway, that's the Moxon in its entirety. Now, that coax, as I've got it set up, it can go about 10 metres away from the car. I do have an extension that I can extend it with male-male connectors. It just reduces the power of it. It's a spectacular antenna, the way it performs and the way it looks, in my opinion, too. So, as I say in the rollout, I'm just going to put this away and it just gets flung in the back of the car. The main reason I'm down here in the garage is twofold. One, I just wanted to put it away. That's why I've not been so efficient getting out, because it was all flung in after last time. I'm going to put it in so that next time out, it comes out, bang, bang, ready to go. The other thing as well is that I'm down here and I've just been practice fitting chains to the Saxo. I can't fit chains to the Jaguar because the Jaguar has the option 17-inch alloy wheels and they don't fit. Anyway, it's written in the manual as well. Always read the manual, which us blokes just don't do, but it's not there. But it's on 4 brand new winter tyres, so... and it's a 4-wheel drive. But I've just done a practice run, easy to do in the garage, practice run fitting the chains to the Saxo. It's much easier once you're out on the road to actually fit them when you need to, if you know exactly what you're doing, all the quirks and things like that. I've seen so many people, they've bought them, they've got a disc with it, they put the disc into the unit, it talks its way through how to do it, and by the time it's done that, because it's snowing, they're knackered. But I can get chains fitted to this car now, and I can do it in less than 8 minutes. Okay, anyway, that's it for today. Today's video complete. All about the Moxon, not just the antenna, but the important part. And the reason why I do this, just in final, is that when the thing's set up, the bottom bolts are pointing where the antenna's pointing, so I don't have to be kind of like looking up at it and cricking my neck, especially if I'm sitting in the car and I've got it fairly close. All I need to do is I can tell at a glance where I've left it pointing each time, and it's much, much easier to do that. For the sake of a few seconds of being a bit anal about how I set it up, that's the way it goes. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Keep subscribing, and until the next video, ciao. And that's it. 7 parts to the antenna. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts to the mast. So that's it back in the car. Crossbeam, bag of spare parts, bag of spare straps and bungee clips, and my tools and wires, cables, everything there. Now this is a carton that the last aerial order came in, and I've got these insulation things just in case. I can put them in around the tubes and it'll protect if I'm attaching it to anything sensitive. And I still have access to all the mobile antennas. The second one of these stops them from rattling. I have a cover that covers over everything as well, keeps it out of sight, keeps it in place, and that's basically it. It's all in the car, ready to go for next time. And it's set up so it doesn't rattle. All the bits, all the rattly stuff's at the end there, and I just pack in various cloths and things, and it doesn't rattle when I'm driving about. And that is that.